great to have you come along and join us on our journey as we learn about some of the great Catholic saints from around the world.
Before we introduce our next saint, we want to take some time to retrace our steps and review the saints that we have learned about so far.
Our first stop was Saint Brendan the Navigator, whose trust in God kept him safe when he was sailing around the world spreading the message of Jesus to the countries he traveled to.
The next saint we learned about was Saint Francis of Assisi in Italy, who loved all of God's creation, especially the animals and people that he met throughout his lifetime.
After our stop in Italy, we traveled to North America, New York in fact, to learn about Saint Kateri Tekakwitha, a Native American whose love for Jesus and the Catholic faith was so strong that even though the people in her life were not happy of her beliefs, she trusted in God and he kept her safe as she learned more about her faith.
And last time, we talked about Saint Anthony of Padua, who spread the gospel all over Sicily and even preached the good news of the gospel to the fish in the sea.
Our travels have taken us to some amazing places, but we aren't done yet. We still have more saints to learn about, including the saint we will be talking about today, Saint Joan of Arc.
Saint Joan of Arc was born in France in the year 1412. She grew up on a farm and learned how to take care of many of the different animals that lived there with her family. When Joan was around 12 years old, she had a vision that Michael, the archangel in heaven, told her to lead the French soldiers in a battle against the English.
At that time, Joan lived. The French and the English were not getting along and spent a lot of time fighting wars against each other. The fighting lasted roughly a century and even became known as the 100 Years' War.
From her visions, Joan learned that God was calling her to be a war leader. She was to take the French king to be crowned in Reims, which is a city in northern France.
Joan continued to have visions like this one for 4 more years. When she was 16, Joan decided that it was time she listened to her visions and take action. Taking action also meant doing some things that Joan needed lots of courage and bravery for.
Because Joan was a poor farm girl, she did not have an army to take with her to defeat the English. Joan decided that she would have to ask the King of France for an army to go with her to fight. Joan first went to a nearby town to ask the commander of the army to take her to see the king. Joan became part of the army and led troops during several battles.
As one of her missions, the uncrowned King Charles VII sent Joan to siege the Orleans city on a relief mission. She gained prominence after the siege was lifted only 9 days later. Several additional swift victories led to Charles VII's coronation at Reims, which God had told Joan about if she trusted in God and followed his plan. This long-awaited event boosted French morale and paved the way for the final French victory in battle.
Joan trusted God and knew that he would keep her safe even when she was scared. On May 23rd, in 1430, Joan was captured by a group of rich Frenchmen who were secretly supporting the English.
Joan was handed over to the English and put on trial by a pro-English bishop on a variety of charges. During her trial, Joan was asked about her faith in God and the voices that she'd heard in her visions.
The court thought that Joan hearing voices meant she might not be a follower of God, and they decided that she was guilty and sentenced her to death. On May 30th, 1431, Joan was put to death.
20 years after her death, the Pope discovered that Joan's trials was based on lies and declared Joan innocent and even declared her a martyr, which means she died for her belief in God.
Wow, that's a long story. Joan truly is one of the bravest saints I have ever heard about. And today, she is known as the patron saint of soldiers and the country of France.
The next time you need to be brave, think of Saint Joan of Arc and remember her bravery, even as a young girl.
Thanks so much for joining us, and we can't wait to see you tomorrow. Do you know where we're going next?
Well, I think we're headed to Mexico. See you there. Bye.